I'm Spencer,
And I'm Teddy.
and this is the Itch Network meeting with,
Majority.
and we're here to review Dragon
Dragon Quest
Quest
VII.
Seven: Fragments
Fragments
of the
of the
Forgotten
Forgotten
Past
Past. I almost forgot.
for the 3DS.
Yes, 3DS, that's right.
All right, this is a turn-based RPG set in the long-running Dragon Quest franchise. This is the seventh installment.
That's right.
It is a remake from the PS1 classic. I think it was released in 2001, somewhere around then, right?
Yeah,
2001?
just about.
All right, it's redone by the same Arte Piazza, I think that's what they're called, that do the other remakes for the other Dragon Quest, which are also phenomenal. If that was just a spoiler for this review, then I apologize.
No, that's a good place to start. I wanted to ask you, because this is such a long game, why don't we just quickly summarize what are your impressions of the game after having beat it?
Mind-blowing, phenomenal. It's a
Yeah.
long experience. Don't think it's not, and it's a journey, and you feel like
Marvelous.
you've come through a journey.
Outstanding, splendid, pilferers of the plunderers.
Yes, all those words.
Yes, all of them.
Yep. It was quite a journey, and we both endured through it, and I think we're both better off for it, quite frankly.
Yeah. Journey. I want to hone in on that word. How is this a journey, and what kind of a journey is it?
So you start out on an island that is completely on its own. There are no other islands in the world. It's an open world full of ocean. That seems kind of fishy, right?
Fish indeed. Ha!
Puns, guys. If you like puns, you'll like this game. Anyway, so you go on. You're a couple kids, and you're just playing around, and you discover that the world wasn't always that way. It used to be full of islands, and it turns out you can go back in time, find out why the islands disappeared, resolve the issue, and then you go back into the future, and voila, there they are. And
Well, shoot, you could have just said we were exploring the unknown.
And thus the story begins of reclaiming the world, of bringing back all the islands, and what have you. What comes from that is the story of the game.
One island, 3 characters. Who will survive?
Pretty
Um,
much.
So, I think the islands are an interesting representation of what this game is all about. Like you said, it's all about exploration and discovery,
Yeah.
and a lot of time travel. So it's easy to hear time travel and think, oh shit, another one of these games.
Yeah.
But I don't think that this is a game that particularly relies on tropes so much as reskins them for the Dragon Quest brand. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it's not. This game is not about time travel. I think people should get that in their heads pretty early. That this game is in no way about time travel. Time travel is a means of telling a story. But if you were to look at it through, rough lenses, time travel is done completely incorrectly in this game. It's not. When you go back, you'll fix the problem of the island. The island will reappear. But when you go back into your time frame, everyone will still be of the mindset that there were no islands. And then suddenly there'll be an island that appears, and they're like, oh my god, it's crazy. So, I mean, time travel isn't done correctly, but it's done through the idea that Dragon Quest is using time travel.
Right, through the fragments.
Yeah, exactly. It's very fragmented.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, there's no particular science to it.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm going back 30 years. It's like I'm going to collect the fragments of this particular forgotten past. And there's about 20 forgotten pasts, that are surrounding you. This is its own archipelago, you could say.
Yeah.
And, or how like volcanoes still emerge from the sea. I think there's one that sprouted from Hawaii recently. It's kind of like that, except expedited.
Exactly. It's magic.
And, It's magic. You believe in Dragon Quest. we got 2 Dragon Quest faithful here.
Yeah.
Um,
In case you haven't noticed.
in case, yes. I had a slime as my profile picture for a while.
Mhm.
Anyways, I think the important thing here is that, early on, and this is a long game, it operates in somewhat of a vignette style.
Mhm.
So you get sort of a window into specific worlds, and it's almost like you're a guest in that world.
Yeah.
And as that guest, you see the world's problem. I'm saying world, but it's like the island's problem.
Right. At the beginning,
And-
they're practically their own worlds.
Yeah. And I thought it was interesting, how each island has its own world. It's its own story, its
Yeah.
own problem. And even from the first one, which wasn't particularly memorable by comparison to the rest,
Yeah.
it was still strong.
Yeah, it was an
You know what I
introductory
mean?
one, clearly, but it was... Yeah, I loved it. I said, okay, this is how it's going to go. I'm going to go in, fix the problem, go back into the future. There's the island. Oh my god, magic.
That's how you make magic happen, kids.
Yeah,
Go to the island.
but it was... That was the point of the game, and it was strong. And I enjoyed it.
Yeah, totally comes together by the end.
Mhm.
All of the islands.
So what about the battle
One
system
state.
in this game? Because the battle system actually starts a little bit late in the game. Would be a small gripe that we'll get into later, I'm sure. But your first battle clocks in at about what, 2 hours in,
2 hours, right.
something like that.
And,
Maybe more.
it's because the game is broken into fragments.
Oh god.
I'll stop. And I'll go back to it.
Don't stop.
Okay, alright. It does feel late, but I was so overwhelmed with glee,
Mhm.
that the game even released that when I started playing it, I just got so into it.
Yeah.
Do you want to touch on this game even coming overseas?
Yeah, real quickly, the game, the reason it took so long to come overseas was because of the translation, to my knowledge. That's what I always heard. And you wouldn't think that was a thing. Like, you think, well, every game gets translated. I don't know what the problem is. Once you get through this game, note that it's about 80 hours long, and every time you make a change to the world, essentially every character that could possibly be related to that change will change their dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And this game is 80 hours long, and you'd basically make changes every couple hours. So noticing how much dialogue changes per character, per script, is wow.
Binders full of women
Yeah, exactly.
and monsters. We have all parties covered here.
Yeah. So I think at some point they were just like, we want to bring it over, but at the same point in time, is it worth the translation of bringing it over?
Mm-hmm. And overseas here, outside of Japan, and even across the world, there was a big fight for Dragon Quest VII to come overseas. There have been a lot that have come out at this point, only in Japan. So I think it actually goes beyond the translation effort, and more so into is this series profitable
Yeah,
here in the States? And I think that's its own discussion. But regardless, when we got that announcement, I know Dragon Quest fans around the world were celebrating.
Well, you put up that petition, I think when I was first like meeting you or something.
Not for 7. I did it for the spin-offs.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yes.
I thought it was for the 7, and I thought it was for 7.
That was actually done by Operation Hero. I think they're affiliated with the same, the underground team that helps to get games like Bravely Default and what's it called, Xenoblade Chronicles ported.
Well, I know that I signed whatever the petition was to get 7 over, and I know I signed yours, so maybe I signed that one too. But yeah, I was all up for them bringing this over, and I'm glad they did.
Yeah, me too. Just having it, that first day, and actually playing it, it felt like a real achievement for us fans here. When it feels like we're like the how do you say, the lonely people on the island.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're like the sole people who are even aware of what Dragon Quest is.
I feel like that sometimes when I ask other gamers about things. So
Yeah, but doesn't it make you feel empowered?
yeah, to see it come out, it's a big
So,
hurrah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm aware. I know about this awesome series. It's kind of like a bittersweet thing.
We're woke. Is the
Yes.
current phrase.
You're totally aware. What about it when you first started playing it was so awesome to you?
Well, as soon as the music hits, my heart's pumping. Like as soon as that goes, I'm in. I'm all balls in. So that was great. And then the world, when you're actually walking around the island, and it's like from behind you, and you get to just see the big open world that's in front of you. Like, oh, because the other Arte Piazzas weren't like that because they were more classic isometric, and this one has isometric moments in it, but it also was more focused on showing you the grand world ahead of you, and it was just, oh, there's a bit of pop-in, but that's okay. I'm not a picky guy. A little pop-in though, but yeah, seeing just the big world and everything, just that was a game changer.
Totally.
There's
When I
not
first started
another-
playing the music too, that was like a victory opening.
Yeah,
You know, I
We
played it for you
won.
before. It's so loud. It's
yeah.
like it's really like stating like this game is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, once you first step out into that world and you see the islands, and you know, as the islands sprout and you discover like all these lush environments. You know, I remember when you go to the first town with the volcano. Like it's like just the color contrast is outstanding.
Absolutely.
So I think on a technical level, this game just hits home.
Oof. I love.
Do you want to compare it to any other 3DS games?
There isn't one. This is a different game than any game you've played on the 3DS. It's not an Atlas RPG by any stretch of the imagination. It's better. It's not, and I'm not saying I'm an Atlas fan. I like Atlas games, but
Yeah.
this is not an anime game. This is not. There are tropes in it, but it's not as tropey. As, like it's not an anime trope. This is not Bravely Default. This is classic RPG, which is something
With
we rarely see.
Yes.
Rarely.
Yes. And that's totally worth supporting in and of itself.
Mhm.
I think the whole 3D adventuring thing feels very much a staple to this game. I would argue this is probably some of the best 3D exploration on the system. You know, more impressive than even Ocarina of Time or, you know, I guess I have Tales of the Abyss up there is kind of similar. But, you know, it's just a grand experience. It just feels huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
Biggest game I've played on the 3DS. Well, hold on.
Did you play
Maybe
Xenoblade?
Xenoblade Chronicles was bigger.
But you need a new 3DS to play that.
I got it.
I don't.
Maybe Xenoblade Chronicles could compete, but different
But that's
different
a
games.
50-hour game, right?
That's another 60, 70 hour game. That's
Oh, it
a
is.
long one. Yeah, that's a really
Okay.
long game too.
So probably they go head and head as to, you know, the most
Yeah, but
breathtaking kind of game on
Yeah.
the console.
yeah, but I mean different art styles, different games, but yeah, but who cares? They're both amazing. So both great, amazing games.
Oh yeah, I'm not trying to disprove one over the other. In fact, I still need to play Xenoblade.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, as far as adventuring goes, as far as, you know, being classic, and as far as, you know, interactions, you know, we touched on dialogue briefly, but, you know, there is a picture of the entire script for the game, and it spans, like, several dozen binders, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And,
Huge.
you know, even just disregarding the sheer quantity of it, the quality is great. It feels very human. It feels like it was done by people who are actually reading it back and making sure it makes sense when you read it.
Yeah, there are no awkward translation errors. There's tons of puns. Like, puns should kind of show a mastery of the language. There's tons of puns here. I mean, just the enemies. We were reading off some of the enemy names. Monologue, my favorite. He's one log.
Serial quiller.
Serial
Discuss some serious quills.
It's brilliant. I love it.
It's got that Dragon Quest charm to it.
Right, when you play a Dragon Quest game, you have to know that there's a certain level of tongue-in-cheek. It's not... The game isn't 100% serious the entire way through. It's got a sense of humor. And that's
Even
great.
the place names. You know, like... I know there's one island called Not Again.
Yes.
And on that island, you have to keep going back. So what do you say? Not again.
Yeah. That's funny. I didn't even realize that. I didn't pick up on that. I read it as not a gen.
That's
funny.
I guess I could see why that's a thing. Or why it's easy to misinterpret some of them. I know with the next one that's coming out, they're going to have voice acting on Dragon Quest VIII for the 3DS.
That's incredible. Because that game has amazing voice acting, so...
Good.
That makes me very, very happy that they're doing that.
Good. Do you feel that maybe this game got a bit stale at points?
No.
No.
No. Never.
Okay.
Every
Nothing
time,
about it.
No. Every time you were gonna go to a new island, they would paced so well. Like it starts off like pretty brisk, like you can get through an island in a sitting. And then as the game kind of progressed and it got more complex, enemies became harder, bosses became really hard. As that slowly translated, or transitioned, sorry, it became, you became more invested in your classes, in your progression, in the items that you wanted. Your goals became broader, and it never at any point was like, oh, geez, I gotta do this. No, it was always, I was just pumped the entire way through. And this is an 80-hour game, so that was quite a feat for me.
I know you finished it in half the time I did, and that in and of itself is amazing.
Yeah.
I wish I had more time to keep up with you, but
well,
I tried to spread it out too.
I will say, on a personal note, I don't know how deep we want to get into it, but this game actually hit me in a weird moment in my life where I was going through a big breakup. So it was the thing that kind of I relied on to get through it. So I was glad that I had it there, and it kept me sane, as it were.
Good. I mean, it's a real heartwarmer, this game. And, you know, it is very balanced. And you know, that's the thing about Dragon Quest is it does invest you into its characters.
Absolutely.
Everyone likes to call it a blank slate kind of game where your protagonist doesn't say anything and therefore he has no personality. But I think that personality is defined by the characters around you in the game as you get to know them. Even some of the facial expressions, I could see, you know, even if you like go up to a mirror and if you look in the mirror, it says like, you know, T Kong looked at his face, and T Kong is looking pretty tired. You know, there's all these subtle moments where it builds in character relationship development, even with yourself. And you know, I've loved Dragon Quest my whole life for that.
Yeah, I think there's an argument right now that silent protagonists are old school and not relevant and not good. I've heard that before, and I think people need to step back and realize that one character is this character's the window. This character isn't. It's supposed to be you. Like you are the character. What are your character traits? Oh, in this situation, where do you fit into the story? Oh, okay, so this guy looks up to me. Maribel is gonna constantly make fun of me and call me a little twerp. Okay, I must be kind of like a dork kind of character. Okay, well, how do I feel about that? Oh, she annoys me. Okay, that character annoys you. That's the character. Like
I think there's a big difference between the blank slate in Dragon Quest and the blank slate in a game like The Legend of Legacy. I know you didn't play that. What was I Am Setsuna like? Did you have any character interaction in that game?
It was confusing. That didn't do blank slate very well. If that's what people are judging it on, then yes, I can see it being a problem, because they put too much into your character. Characters would come up to you that knew you for 5 minutes that you literally just met, and they'll be like, "You're just one cold guy, aren't you?" And it's like, you don't know me. You just met me. Like, what are you talking about? I've made all the nicest choices in the game.
So it's not genuine.
It's not genuine. This game, you're a kid. you've known the characters in your party for a long time. One of the characters you saved, Ruff, you saved him. These characters have a reason to care about you, and it's wonderful just to see them interact. And I like that we brought up that they're kids. Like they are children, and occasionally, you know, the kings are their parents, and they'll tell them like, okay, yeah, like you need to go to your room, kid, and it's like, all right, well, yeah, I guess.
But there's something heartwarming about that relationship, like always coming home to Pilchard Bay and bringing Dad a pilfer sandwich or whatever they call it.
Right. And Maribel has to go because her dad's sick. Like, oh, I gotta go home. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot that we're kids.
But you don't have the same restraints as kids. You have that sense of, childlike innocence that loves adventure.
Yeah.
That is lured towards misbehaving or doing the things that others, like the adults, think aren't right, but that are.
Exactly. It's got that Harry Potter feel of like all the adults have this thing going on, and all the kids are like, we got to do what's right because we know it, and it's got that charm, and I love that. It's not captured in video games at all right now. Everyone's focused on darkness and making things gritty and sad and dark, and nobody wants to step up and do the cool, like we're in a charming world and characters are nice to each other, and the world is happy. It's got problems, but it's still like a great place to be. And then when you resurrect a kingdom, you see that they're happy now. I mean, they might have a little problem, but they're happy and they're living and they're fun and they're enjoying themselves. And I love, like, it's so refreshing. You just don't see that in gaming today.
Yeah. I think it was good that throughout the game there's not like this huge focus on everything is wrong in the world and we are the saviors. It's more so about, exploring and coming to that point, but, where it comes naturally.
Yeah.
It feels genuine.
And that's not to say there aren't any dark moments in the game.
Yeah.
Do you remember the caterpillar character thingy?
Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil that, but holy shit.
It's a tearjerker. I mean, that's what Dragon Quest is.
That went in a direction I was not expecting. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm not going to say too much on that moment either, but it's full of slur prizes.
Yeah.
Slur prize.
So what about the graphics?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta love Akira Toriyama. This is great art style. I think the big thing is, it's a colorful game, and those colors really stand out on the 3DS. I turn the 3D feature on seldomly, but I did turn it on a couple times in this game, and I felt like I was in the world. And that's exactly what the 3D feature needs to do.
Yeah.
Is to be able to do that for those occasional 5 minutes.
It had a strong color palette. It looked cartoony, and that's perfectly fine. It had a draw distance, which you could see the islands in the backgrounds. We briefly touched on that already, but that gave it a special touch that showed you how far you'd come in the game. And just staying on the main island and kind of looking around and be like, oh, that's the tower I went to a while ago, and that's the island that I just saved, and that's the the desert. Just seeing your accomplishments just before you is unlike any other experience I've had.
Yeah, I mean, it really brings home the seafarer feel. Yeah. You feel like a plunderer, and you're going out, seeing the sea, you're sailing the sea. You're discovering these new locations, like on your map, there's all these, white areas that are new islands that sprout up. And, eventually as you discover more of the islands and they start appearing, you really feel like that wayward adventurer. Absolutely.
As far as the gameplay goes, it's your classic Dragon Quest. If you played one, you've pretty much played them all. It's turn-based. You select all the moves you want your characters to do, and then their agility plays out as how it goes. And critical hits, whatever, yada yada.
I do want to challenge you on that. If you've played one, you've played them all, because I did play 4, and the difference between that game and this one is that you have a roster of characters that are consistent. You have like 7 or 8 of them, and they're your characters throughout the game. Yeah, they disappear for a little bit, they come back, but that's it. Your characters are your characters, they level up, and they're distinct. But the class system is what defines this game.
There you go.
Do you want to hit on the class system?
No, go ahead.
All right. So initially, your characters are who they are. There are no classes. Then eventually you come to the Abbey. I don't want to say too much on it, but interesting point in the game. And at that point, I'm going to skip ahead some of the story. You are able to pick a level of very general classes for your character: warrior, mage, priest, troubadour. I like the word.
The obvious.
Yeah.
The regular.
Obviously.
Troubadour,
Yeah,
the comedian.
Yeah.
The jester, that's what it's called, the jester.
Yeah, those are your Dragon Quest staples. I guess it is kind of like Dragon Warrior 3 in a way.
Yeah.
But the difference is, each class is distinct, and you can change them into any other class at any other time. And sometimes they can inherit the skills if you go into one of the higher classes. And oftentimes you have to master base level skills base level classes in order to go to the higher level classes. What is it about the class system you found interesting or did not?
Pros of the class system are it's really exciting. You're constantly getting new moves as you're leveling up that class. You're gaining levels in the class. So whenever you're grinding, which there is a decent amount in this game, just forewarning, when you're grinding, you're actually feeling accomplished because you're gaining those extra abilities, and you have something to strive for, both short term and long term.
Yeah.
I love getting the new classes and seeing what they can do. The gladiator class, oh my god, that's like beast mode. And then it goes into the champion, I believe, later.
Yeah. Then to the hero.
Into the hero. So those classes are great, and I love the progression that comes from it. I would say the negatives for me were that I wish they were more clear. I wanted a more obvious way of how I was going to progress that. I mean, I don't mind that you have to kind of guess, but maybe a little nudge. Like, hey, it goes great with this class, this one, because they just go well together for whatever reason. Wink, wink. I would have liked.
Yeah,
something.
I didn't feel like there was a clear orientation towards what the classes would be like. You kind of discover, like, there's someone on the side of the Abbey that says, okay, this class, or like, this is how many skills you need in this class, or like, it gives you these little descriptions. But like, there's one thing I didn't understand was, sometimes you get these items for monsters that are like, representations of themselves. Ellipse heart, golem heart, I don't know, things like that. And you can use those to actually turn into the monster and have that monster be your character. Of course, you can change it back at any time, so it's not permanent, but it's little things like that I would have liked to know before, getting further into the game.
Yeah.
And I guess understanding how important they were for those grinding segments. Because, once you master a class, you aren't leveling anything up in that class. And, I mean, I guess I had spoken to you beforehand about it, and you were able to tell me, oh yeah, switch the classes beforehand, and I did. But I wasn't doing them clearly. I wasn't doing them towards, like, the higher level classes. I would do, like, a troubadour and a mage. Like, what's the point of that?
Because I'm just putting two together. Like, what do I get?
Yeah. Oh, if I get these skills, then that'll be, good later on.
Yeah, it wasn't totally clear. I'm sure there were hints in the game that I just didn't pick up on, but it's a huge game, so I mean, it's hard to nail down. I wish it would have been a little bit more clear from the get-go, so some of my time wasn't wasted on like a jester. Like, I don't need the jester.
And it's tough because oftentimes in those classes you might need to battle like 100 to 150 monsters that are at your level just to master that class.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it does feel like a bit unnatural when you're going in grinding to make the class stronger later on in the game.
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't be as grind heavy. But, the first time, I'd say there were 2 to 3 moments in the game where I really had to grind.
Yeah. Some of the bosses are wake-up calls. You'll be like, wow, that just decimated me, and There was no, because some fights you're supposed to lose. Like RPG people know that's how it goes. It's bad when you get in a fight and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to lose this one, and then the game's like, game over. You're like, oh, I was supposed to beat that guy. Like, well, time to grind. There you go. Yeah, those are rough. All right, so let's do some pros and cons of the game.
Okay. Pros are like almost everything we've said so far.
Yeah.
Witty dialogue that is emotionally investing. It's easily one of the most impressive games on the 3DS.
Yeah.
And something you had mentioned before, you really get your money's worth. You know, this is a hearty game.
Mm-hmm.
And for $40, that's a steal.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know, I'd like to say it's friendly to newcomers, but I'd have to say you have to love RPGs to love this game.
And I think
if you do,
I think
then
the further classic in RPGs you go, the less fans you're gonna find right now in gaming. One thing that Bravely Default does really well is it makes grinding like a game, and it gives you like exponential bonuses to your experience based on how many monsters you can kill in a row in the same fight. They just keep going. You keep inviting monsters in, so it becomes like a mini game to grind.
Yeah.
This game doesn't do that. This game is more the classic. You run around, you find the monsters, which they are on the screen, which is cool. There are no random battles in that sense. They're usually around the area, which is great. But this game is more of the classic. You need to run around, you need to grind, you need to take it upon yourself to get those levels. You need to master that. And I think the current market kind of trends away from that. We have the classic RPG market that's there that will scoop this up and eat it and love it.
Sure.
But if I'm going to recommend this to or if I'm going to explain this game to your average Joe that's playing Call of Duty right now, I can't see them being thrilled about this game.
Yeah, there's a certain level of having to love the challenge and how the challenge makes you stronger.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have that mindset. I hate to generalize.
It's true, though.
I love... okay, here's the thing. I don't love in a game like Legend of Legacy where I have to do that, but I do in this game. So what's the difference? I think the difference is that I'm emotionally invested.
Yeah.
You know, is that it really pulls me in.
Yeah, exactly. That's perfect.
That's where I love it.
You nailed it. You're emotionally invested in the characters. You like them. The charm hits you the right way to where you're like, okay, I want this character to be better. I like this character. I want him to be better. In some games, it's not the case.
Yeah, totally. And, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, it's rare. We haven't gotten a Dragon Quest game in 5 years. And just to see it, you know, coming here overseas, it's awesome. I mean, I looked at the sales figures in the US right now. It's only like 50,000 units compared to over 1 million seller in Japan. But keep in mind, in Japan, it's been out for like 4 or 3 years now. Okay. It's only been out for 2 months here. I don't see it. Maybe it won't break 100,000. In which case, I'm happy to be one of the lucky few.
I wish it would.
I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, you also have to take into account the time frame. 3DS is going out of fashion. 3 years ago, 3DS was the hotcakes. That would have been around the time the Pokemon came out.
Yeah. And
who knows? Then this might be an over 500,000 seller.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. But I am thankful it's here. I'm thankful for the experience. I'm thankful for the exploration. I'm thankful for just feeling like I've been a part of it.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to touch on?
No, I think that's it. We mentioned pretty much everything.
And I love the extra content. You know, there is Street Pass. There's no one else that owns this game, even in New York City. So that's anyone. But I did love catching and training or putting these little monsters in my monster meadows.
Yeah.
And making tablets. And I love the casino. The casino's a great staple. And I spent a lot of time playing poker. So if you love card games, then this is the game for you.
Gotcha. I don't do any of that poker shit. Anyway. Alright, well, I'm Spencer.
And I'm Teddy, and this has been Dragon Quest
7.
7
Fragments of the Forgotten Past.
Past. Yes, that's the one.
It's tough to do that online.
Yeah.
Alright, well, thank you.
Yes, thank you, and thank you to everyone at home. Let us know, do you have the game? Are you getting the game?
Alright.
All right.